Hello everyone. We have Matt Reeves here. Welcome Matt, welcome.
Thank you
to the
so
show.
much.
And Matt is a partner at Anderson, Tate and Cart, the largest full-service firm in the district and outside the perimeter of Metro Atlanta. With his hard work and determination, he has been serving the community for almost like 17 years with a number of diverse communities. He was been a helping hand in supporting the frontline health workers, law enforcement and the police force, and he's been there like everywhere when people really need. And thanks Matt for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, and he is in the leadership positions in many of the local civic and non-profit and business groups. And he lives with his wife Susie, and he has three beautiful school-going children, and he lives in Duluth. And Matt is graduated with honors from UGA School of Law and Mercer University. And right now he is running for Georgia State Senate to represent District 48. And he has been advocating a lot of issues like benefits for the school funding, especially on our transportation needs in Georgia, the congestions we really see in the transportation at Georgia. And he is also working on some healthcare and the policies and the programs. You'll be knowing it more in the interview. And he's been advocating like a lot of small businesses, like helping them in many of these things for a long time. And the public safety. He has been like safely setting the Georgia to work back again and rebuilding it for a better world. So thank you. Thank you so much, Matt. And we have you here on your show. And the first question I have here is like regarding the healthcare. So Georgia is one of the 14 states that did not expand the Medicaid. And how do you want to address the gaps between the poverty lines and the Medicaid? And what do you think of Georgia response adequately on the pandemic?
Absolutely. I'll start with healthcare coverage. 10 years after Washington tried to solve our healthcare problems, Washington has failed. And I want Georgia to succeed on behalf of patients where Washington's failed. Right now we've got 250,000 or more Georgians who don't have health insurance coverage. They fall between health insurance policies and Medicaid. If you talk to somebody who's on Medicaid or if you talk to their doctor, they will tell you that Medicaid has a lot of room for improvements. I want to strengthen Medicaid for the people who are already on Medicaid and for their health care providers. However, for uninsured Georgians, I want to fulfill that promise that Washington broke its promise on. I want to get them health care coverage. On health care, I am always looking for the quality of health care, access to health care, and the cost of the health care. I think there are ways to get more Georgians insured with health insurance coverage, including pre-existing condition coverage. One of those is a Medicaid waiver, which Georgia obtained in the last week or two. I've talked to many health insurance agents in the district, including Josh Uden, who ran for this seat on the Democrat side. And they want to get more Georgians covered with health insurance if they can get some flexibility on the health insurance plans. And I'm glad that Georgia has recently received some of that flexibility, and I want to support efforts to get more Georgians insured, whether it's helping them purchase policies or helping their employers offer more policies. And also, the key to health insurance policies is jobs, and I want to make sure Georgia stays #1 in jobs. We've been blessed the last 7 years to be #1 in jobs, and I want to keep it that way. Right now, even as we recover from the pandemic, we are 3 percentage points lower than the nation on unemployment, and I want to keep the job market strong so that small business people and working people have health insurance coverage, including pre-existing condition coverage. So that's my plan. I don't believe in forcing people onto Medicaid. That breaks the promise that was made to people years ago to get them covered by health insurance with quality, access, and choice. So let's get people health insurance coverage rather than forcing them onto Medicaid. On recovering from the pandemic, I know that there's always room for improvement. We need to take the lessons that we've learned and we need to improve on our response from COVID as we are recovering from the pandemic. I'm encouraged that on the Gwinnett County side of my district that the numbers are universally going down on COVID. On the Fulton County side of my district, there are some roving hot spots from COVID, so we need to study it carefully and make sure that we are safe, that our businesses can reopen safely, and that schools can reopen safely.
That's great to know. See the advocacy that he has, being honest and being transparent. So if you see that, that's the motto he's having, like, and that's his primary motto, like being honest and being like very transparent, whatever he's doing. That's great to hear.
And the state senate is part-time, so I'll be spending the rest of my time as a small business lawyer and raising 3 kids. My mother-in-law lives in Duluth also. She doesn't live with us, but just is right down the road. So, coming from the family and faith and small business world down to the Capitol, that's what I'm doing in this part-time public service position.
Yeah. See, that's a granular level of things he knows, because he is a small business owner here in the district, and he knows the in and outs of the things, the taxing, the real pinpoints, and the real pains.
Yeah.
So the next question I have is on the small businesses, Matt.
Sure.
Okay. So the small businesses in hospitality are like severely hit, okay, across the globe and across the Georgia. So our community has put in the blood, the tears, and all the sweat in investing in these industries. And how do you plan to rebuild these small and especially the family-based businesses that we have around, and also the independent businesses that we have around here, right? And how do you want to plan for the policy making? Also, do you are going to help any on the programs or like the taxing? So you can go.
Sure. Well, we need to keep people healthy. However, we need to also only have health restrictions that are necessary. We can't be any more overbroad, because that will hurt people's business and education and livelihood. So we need to do all 3 right: health, business, and education, because if you overdo it on any of those, it could really mess things up, as a lot of people are feeling the pain of out in the business world. I've talked to friends in the hospitality industry, and by the way, that's another thing. State Senate District 48 is kind of literally the home of the hospitality industry in Atlanta. While you may have more hotels inside the perimeter, around 285 or 400, usually the ones who've been the entrepreneurs and are working in them every day are here in Gwinnett and North Fulton. So the hospitality industry is important to me. In Atlanta, our airport has fed a lot of the hospitality industry, and air travel, of course, has been hurt dramatically by COVID. I've talked to a friend in Duluth who's in the hotel business, and he has some hotels over in South Carolina, and states where people are going back to car travel are actually doing better on hospitality than here in Atlanta, where the pattern has been business travel through the airport. And it's really unfortunate that if you take out the in-person conventions and businesses as well as the airport, what a bloodbath it's been in the hospitality industry. I've talked to friends in the hospitality industry, and they tell me in the recession that we had from 2008 to 2012 or 13 or so, their business was down 25%, 30%, somewhere in that neighborhood. But during COVID, it's been down 70, 75% a lot of times, and that makes it unprofitable. They've had to lay off employees, and a good hotel has not just dozens, it could have hundreds of employees. So it's a tragedy anytime you have people hurting in the hotel business, because the human toll of that is great with all those employees who are losing their jobs. So I like the PPP and the CARES Act at the national level. If Washington does not get back to supporting small businesses with something like that as needed with COVID, then I think Georgia ought to do a local level with, and I think that's why community banking is so important, because community bankers and lenders can respond and work with their customers. I want to make sure that people in the business world feel supported. And I don't believe that it's at the county level, things like deferring licenses and fees and payments and inspections and things like that until we're back to normal. And we need to listen to our hotels and small businesses and make sure that state government is a friend rather than a stumbling block as we're going through this international coronavirus pandemic.
Yep, definitely. So you have seen the points, like these are really like unintended consequences that every one of us are really facing here. And his district really falls on like a lot of interstate junctions.
Yeah.
So, and there are like a lot of hospitality industry around, and he's advocating with a lot of small businesses and trying to help them as much as I can, getting into the policy making. So definitely that's a great insight that you really provided, Matt. And this is the tough times, like, and we definitely need to support each other. And as a small business owner, I think he understands far better than anyone else. Let's move to the next question. So this question is regarding the county offices. And what are your plans to make most of the county's offices as non-partisan, and also the term limitations? And what are your top 3 priorities for the district at this point?
Well, I had, a liberal person say, why are you talking about nonpartisan offices in the middle of a pandemic? Well, there was a good example of that with Fulton County trying to pocket over $100 million of COVID funds from the federal government and not give any of the money to North Fulton. That's why I think we need to have good county government in our two biggest counties in Georgia, Fulton County and Gwinnett County, government that serves the people and is there to make sure that the future is bright for our two biggest counties and that they're not just this one-party, big government, pay-to-play type operation. So it's not a new issue for me. I was active in a group of leaders that got the probate court and magistrate court in Gwinnett County changed from being partisan to nonpartisan years ago. I got the bill signing pen from Governor Nathan Deal for helping out with that effort, and it's worked great. Schools to remain top-notch in Gwinnett and North Fulton. I want our communities to remain safe and our schools to remain safe. I think the best way to do that is to have nonpartisan county offices.
That's great. That's great. So if you see that there are like a lot of moving parts that he explained, so the policy making and the property taxing and also how the office administration really need to happen here. So this is all like, because he is from the background law and he understands these things very well. That's the reason, I guess, Pat.
It's problem solving. That's what you need in the state senate. Problem solving and multitasking.
Multitasking.
Yep.
That's a great thing. Yep. So good. So let's move on to the next question. This is regarding the school and education.
Okay.
So what are your thoughts about our school reopening, and what are the financial supports that you are really looking for and the programs that you are trying to get in to support like the students and on the middle class families?
Absolutely. Well, definitely I support the locals. I think that local school board members and principals and school officials ought to be trusted and have the authority to make this decision along with local health officials. I like the way the Gwinnett schools, as well as the Gwinnett Health Director, Dr. Audrey Arona, addressed COVID. They heard from the community when they initially were going to go the way of the city of Atlanta and some other public school systems and do digital only. There was an outcry from a lot of moms and parents and students, and they did get back to in-person learning as quick as possible. And so I think having locals who are responsive is good. I think that safety and health is obviously number one, but if you have educations that are disrupted, that's going to hurt students' future, as well as it's going to hurt their parents' jobs and work ability to focus on their work. So, I trust the locals, but I want the locals to, be able to make good decisions on this health issue. In terms of how to, and no student and no teacher wants to do digital learning. So I think, the sooner we can get back into education, the better. I'm glad we've got a technology upgrade, but I want to get those students back into the classroom where they can have give and take with their math teachers and science teachers and many classes where you just can't effectively learn the subject well without peers and without a teacher together. Zoom it hinders good education. So in terms of what can I do as a state senator to support education, I think that we need to fully fund our K through 12 schools. Right now it's called the Quality Basic Education Formula, QBE. And that QBE formula was enacted in the 1980s. It didn't get fully funded until Governor Deal was governor, and we were #1 in jobs. That's the way you can fully fund your K through 12 schools is to have a vibrant job market. Also, I think the best program overall in Georgia over the last 25 years is the Hope Scholarship. And the Hope Scholarship was enacted as a merit-based scholarship, and it's funded because we focused on rewarding hard work and rewarding academic achievement, keeping bright students here in Georgia and helping them get a college education and helping their family budget through rewarding hard work. And I want to protect the merit-based Hope Scholarship. Also, I think that we need to change the status quo in college admissions in Georgia and make sure that 90% of early admissions go to qualified Georgia students. If there's a qualified Georgia student and an out-of-state student in Georgia, until we've let 90% of those qualified Georgians in, I think we need to look out for Georgians first. North Carolina does that, some other states, and I think that the hardworking students in Gwinnett County and North Fulton need to be able to go to UGA and Georgia Tech if they want to and they're qualified.
Good, that's a great point, Matt. And I see that you have been interacting with a lot of students, the parents, and I also see that you have done some fundraising also.
Absolutely.
And then there are a lot of students at the games. So yeah, it's a great to see you in the community, and if you want to talk more about it to the viewers, that would be great.
Absolutely. You know, we're blessed in Gwinnett and North Fulton to have the schools that we have. You look at Gwinnett, the schools in my area are Duluth High School, Peachtree Ridge High School, Norcross, Paul Duke STEM School, part of North Gwinnett, Lanier, Collins Hill, great schools. In North Fulton, it's Northview High School, it's Johns Creek High School, it's Chattahoochee High School, Centennial's nearby, and then we've got those great schools in South Forsyth. They're outside the district, but they're right there. That's something we can't take for granted. We need to fight fiercely for the quality of our schools and make sure that they're good for the next generation, not only for our property values and the stability of our community, but for those children's education. We need to make sure that our future is bright and that we have good problem solvers and you know, leaders of tomorrow through having these good schools. So I think education is a great return on the investment. So I've been engaged, I've been in all those schools, and I want to be a fierce advocate for our schools down at the state capitol.
So let's move to the next question. This is regarding the unemployment issue.
Sure.
So what are your plans to continue support the state's low unemployment rate, and at the same time, how you want to address the aging workforce?
Sure. We'll talk about employment first. Number one, if you talk to small business folks and ask them, what do you need from state government, they will say, look, I'm more worried about them putting impediments and burdens on me than I am, you know, I'm not asking for anything other than to let me do business. So, you know, I think we need to be very careful with regulations, health or other regulations with small businesses. Small businesses is where most of the jobs are. So while I'm proud of our big businesses in Georgia, and I'm going to be, you know, their biggest fan and supporter, small businesses, that's who I will be the real advocate for, because I know that's where you get the biggest growth, and most small business people treat their employees like family and are loyal to them and look for good health coverage and safety and things like that. So, you know, we've been number one in jobs in Georgia most of the past decade. I want Georgia to be number one for small business. I will look for every opportunity to be a magnet for retaining and growing local small businesses in Georgia. I want people to know that Georgia is the place to do small business. Now, the Indian community already knows that. Georgia is a great place to move. It rewards innovation. You look at the IT industry and healthcare and many other good and hospitality industry. Georgia has attracted talent from the Indian community, and the Indian community has flourished here in Georgia. I want to keep that going. The aging population. Gwinnett County has a massive school system. North Fulton has a big school system also. We have a lot of retirements going on, and so you know, we need to make sure that people who want to work, who are aging, are able to work, and that things like COVID don't chase, you know, seniors out of the workforce who are qualified and who want to work but are scared of the way things are. So I think we need to look after our seniors and make sure that they're comfortable in the workforce and, you know, working part-time, and we need to keep that talent there. We don't want them to, you know, just move away, move to Florida or something like that. We need to keep our seniors well cared for. Seniors want to have a safe community. They want to have good access to health care. They want good quality health care institutions. You look at Emory, Johns Creek, and North Fulton. You look at Northside, Duluth, and Northside, Lawrenceville, and Gwinnett, formerly Gwinnett Hospital. I want to make sure that our healthcare network is good for our seniors. We have safe communities, and that the seniors are comfortable and have employment opportunities. In terms of specifics on that, of employment for seniors, you know, that's something I'd love to hear more about from seniors. But I know from my mother-in-law and many of her peers, you've had a kind of an acceleration of retirement in a lot of jobs due to COVID. Because they're concerned about health issues and also the uncertainty. So we need to look after our seniors and make sure they're welcome in the workforce, and that we make accommodations to keep that talent and those decades of experience and wisdom there in our midst.
Yes. And the next question I have for you is on the value voters. And what do you believe the core values of a conservative movement to be?
Sure.
And how you want to communicate this to the next generations, and how you really want to understand them. Hey, these are the core values of the conservative.
Sure. Well, I can tell you my core values. You know, I believe state government ought to do a few things and do them well. I've talked about those few things through most of the program already, but you know, I think education, public safety and school safety, traffic solutions, good health care, and then leave the rest of the money and authority to the locals and to working people. Don't be a busybody state government that tries to do all things to all people or pass out money to get votes. I think we ought to keep our focus and leave working people with plenty of money and authority over their own lives, and leave local elected officials with plenty of money and authority to respond to the needs of their local citizens. In terms of what makes America special, I think having limited government and the rule of law, having personal responsibility, respecting faith, respecting the family, respecting hard work, and not putting an emphasis on big government and regulation and taxes and spending. I think that hardworking people can spend their money better than the government can. So I think we need to be very careful about government programs, and we need to be very selective on we take money away from working people to fund in the government. But I am comfortable with faith. I go to Perimeter Church in Johns Creek, and I've been in many before I was a candidate, and I respect faith, and I think the commitment that families and houses of worship and small businesses and neighborhoods have to each other far surpasses that of the government. The government, unfortunately, is always thinking about the next election. I think that families and houses of worship and small businesses and neighbors, they're thinking about the next decade. They're thinking about the next generation. They're thinking about long-term, eternally meaningful things. And so I think, that's what we need to keep our focus on. Faith, family, life, those are the basics. And we need to, guard people's personal safety as well as their property. We can't let riots and things like that mess up our community, and we can't let liberal politics mess up the safety of our schools.
So Matt, the next question we have is on the law and order and the public safety. And in recent protests and riots, especially in the Georgia, and what are your thoughts about criminal justice reform?
Well, before the riots and civil unrest and fatalities in 2020, Georgia was already a leader in criminal justice reform. We were doing better than the nation and better than other states in criminal justice reform. Governor Deal and other state leaders started that. Governor Deal was a juvenile court judge earlier in his career, and knew that it's good to get people educated in the workforce rather than warehousing them in jail. And so Georgia has been a leader in criminal justice reform, and I think we need to keep that up, and we need to improve those efforts. I'm glad that Governor Kemp and others have continued that, but we need to stay a leader in criminal justice reform so that we don't have communities of people in Georgia, whether it's the black community or other communities, feeling alienated from law enforcement. We need to make sure that people are getting educated in the workforce and rehabilitated when they need help from addiction and other things, rather than sitting in jail needlessly for nonviolent crimes. So let's be a leader in criminal justice reform. Now, you asked about law enforcement. I think that we need to have citizens respecting the police and understand they have a responsibility to act in a way that is law-abiding. We need to have the police respecting the citizens, though, also, and being able to communicate effectively with citizens and knowing that they're going to be accountable. I think police officers ought to be well educated and learn from the mistakes of others, literally get out some of the tapes of some of the tragedies and loss of life that have happened in the police academy, and show those young police officers the mistakes not to replicate, because we need to protect life and protect the safety of the community and not.
He has honors degree from the law school, and practically he's a problem solver, as you know. And I think you want to regain that kind of respect to the community, and especially
Yes.
the police force. And,
Absolutely.
And they want to be part of whatever the public is really looking for. That's great. And And the next question is what single thing do you want to have accomplished for the next 2 years?
Well, if you look at some of those issues that I've really highlighted, with 90% early admissions going to Georgians, Protect the Hope Scholarship, get more Georgians insured by health insurance coverage, nonpartisan local offices. Those are a good list to start with. I'll stay focused on those priorities. And then I want to listen. I want to listen to what our cities, Johns Creek, Alpharetta, Duluth, Suwannee, Berkeley Lake, Lawrenceville, Peachtree Corners, what their needs are. And I want to make the needs of our citizens and families and cities and counties the agenda, my agenda down at the Capitol. I'm going there to serve, so you know, I've heard things that I've put on my list of things that I've emphasized on the campaign, but I will stay attuned to what the big needs are in Gwinnett and North Fulton. That's what I want to go down there to do.
And why did you really choose to run for the Senate?
Well, I believe the way that America works is you look after your family and your business, and then you get out there and your faith, and you get out there and you got to serve. You can't neglect the public arena in America. That's part of the way citizenship works. And I don't want to go into full-time politics. I think that doing this part-time public service down at the state capitol and the state senate is something where I could do some good based on my work as a small business lawyer, as a family man, and somebody who's knowledgeable and active in the community. I think I could go down there and be an effective voice for our community in this part-time state senate position. So that's what's got me out there. You know, that hero I talked about, my grandfather, who was an Army veteran and farmer, he was on his local school board and tax board, and he believed in public service, and he passed that on to me. And a lot of people in that greatest generation did that. They taught their children and grandchildren to get out there and make the world a better place. None of my grandparents went to college, but all of my mom, my dad, all my aunts and uncles went to college and graduated from college. That greatest generation made sure that their kids and their neighbors' kids got that opportunity to get educated and to have prosperity, and that's what I want to go do in the state senate for Georgia.
The Sakshi TV that you're going to be live on, so we have like the NRIs like spread across all the district of your area, and you want to tell them like why you really want them to vote you.
Sure. As we recover from this pandemic, our community has a lot of needs. We have a lot of blessings and good things going on now, and I want to make sure they are safe going forward in this uncertain world, in this area where things can go in a lot of different directions. I want to fight hard for Gwinnett and North Fulton and our community down there at the Capitol. So with your help, I will be a strong friend and advocate for Gwinnett, North Fulton, and the Indian community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to know more about you and the insights, and definitely all the insights that you provided on the conservative values and also the services that you have been doing for the community. So it's great to know, and we will be start giving those things to our viewers to have a look at all the services that you have been doing. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.